But for field use, I like this little guy here. This is the Grayl. I read about him. I've taken him out field testing now plenty of times. He's pretty cool.
Thirsty?
A little thirsty.
What are we going to do about that?
I'm going to get myself a little something to drink.
Okay. How pretty. Oh, nice. Hello.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, so I'm a little thirsty. I'm going to grab myself something to drink here. Yeah, look, got a little thirsty here. I think there should be enough water. What do you think?
Looks like an ample supply. This is the Colorado River, right?
Yeah, I like this water because it's nice, it's clear, it's moving, which is really good.
It's nice, it's clear, it's
There's no algae. Sorry, there's no algae in it. There's, there's no turbidity. It's clear. That's good. So I don't have to do a two-stage filter. I can just do a one-stage filter. So here we go. I got the Grayl press, right? Get myself a good amount of water here. There's even a fill line that tells you how much to fill up. And then with these presses, you just put them down on the ground and just gently press on them. Now it usually takes about 7 to 10 seconds, and you use pressure to filter the water through. And anything that comes out the other side is good to drink.
So take a sip if you don't mind.
Sure.
So they can see, so the cup, they actually filter through.
Yeah. Here.
Okay, we gotta go, we gotta
Take
go.
some too.
Okay.
You try some too.
Okay, hold on one second, and cheers. Cheers to you guys.
All right.
Tastes just fine.
Cool. So there's a filtration system. It's got a 65-gallon capacity, so it's a lot less. But as you can see, you can carry it with you.
It's a Geopress, right?
It's the Grayl Geopress, and all you have to do is you push them together, and you use pressure to filter the water through. And it even has a handy little feature where if it takes more than about 8 to 10 seconds to press to the filter, you know the filter's getting bad, it's getting clogged up.
Oh, that's
so,
cool.
Yeah, I like to take this out whenever I go camping and stuff, so I have an extra source of water.
And then all of the bad water gets left in this external container,
right.
and all of the good water stays inside here.
That's it. It's easy to use. It's hard to screw up. And the pore size that they go down to is 1.75 microns, which if you've been paying close attention, you'll remember it doesn't filter out viruses, but it'll get out a lot of bacteria and parasites. The other thing too is when I'm out camping, or if I'm out, out in the wild or whatever I'm doing there, then I'm only going to be out there for a couple days, usually maybe a week or so, and then I'm coming back home, right? So this is not really for SHTF. This is more just kind of a cool filter to have for camping. My life doesn't depend on this. If I come home after a camping trip and I have a diarrheal illness, it's unpleasant and inconveniencing, but it's self-limiting and it'll be fine. I'll get over it. Mm-hmm. Worst case scenario, I guess maybe I'll get really badly dehydrated and have to go to the emergency room. So this isn't like the last line of defense. This is where really the line of defense is. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, but it's kind of cool, and I wanted to talk about it because I happen to have one, and I like filters. All right, so we made it. We're here at the hot springs, and we're just trying some of this delicious filtered water.
Yeah, we're actually we're putting it in some mixed drinks here. Just some lemonade powder and
definitely no vodka.
and the water's tasted totally fine. But this water in the hot spring we wouldn't drink because there is a certain type of amoeba.
No, we can filter that out though.
We could filter it out, but we haven't.
Yeah, we're not gonna. It's also stagnant. People have been in it.
People have been in it. It's stagnant. So
yeah,
we're not
the river's
drinking.
fine.
The river, the Colorado River water, good, and this is great.
All right, we'll take a sip. Let's have some. Have some. What do you think?
It tastes, even in the bottle of the actual filtered water, the flavor of the water is perfectly fine.
This is pretty good too.
Cheers.
All right, cheers.
And cheers to you guys.
So there are a lot of things in the prepping community that we can do ourselves that are do-it-yourself, and part of the ethos of being prepared in preparation is trying to have the tools, skills, and resources available to you readily at home or at your fingertips to be able to make or provide things for yourself or for other people, especially essential things like clean water. This is not one of those things, right? This is not a do-it-yourself type of project. Unless you have a degree in engineering, especially some sort of materials engineering, or experience with that, or robust laboratory or field experience with composite membrane materials and design, I wouldn't try touching this, right? This is something that's really for experts, and it requires really sophisticated material, especially if you're trying to get really small pore sizes for your filters. You can't make a filter like this at home. Can you make activated charcoal at home? Yeah, you could do that to get rid of heavy metals. Can you make filtration systems at home that might handle maybe some parasites? Yeah, you could. But really, if you want to get top of the line effective stuff, it's like trying to make your own gun from scratch. Like, could you do it? Yeah, maybe you have a 3D printer, things like that. Yeah, you could probably figure it out. But you really have to know your stuff, and you can make mistakes. This has been put through rigorous standardized process, and LifeStraw is not the only company. They're just my favorite, and their LifeStraw family filter is the one that I bought for myself, and I have several duplicates of. But doing this at home is probably a mistake.
Yeah.
There are just some things you can't do at home, and this is one of them. And same thing can be said about building your own car. I mean, all these things. Just don't try this at home. It's not a do-it-yourself project. Get quality stuff. If it's not this filtration system, go out, read up on filtration systems, find ones. Keep in mind the pore size and the capacity, and also what kind of filter you're looking at to get an idea of what it'll filter out.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I guess, even if you wanted to try it at home, there's no way to test the efficacy of the filter. You're kind of just trusting the name of the brand, I guess,
Well, kind of. You can also use Cox postulates. So you can find contaminated water that has germs in it. Drink that after running it through the filter and see how it works. You can test it. I meant like probably not the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I just meant like if you're doing an at-home ad hoc filter, there's really no way to test it unless you're just drinking it and seeing if you get sick, I guess. So
yeah.
Probably not the best.
Well, drinking it with a known contaminated source, that's the only way to test it. Yeah, that's a good point. The other caveat too is with these filtration systems, they all have package inserts to tell you how to maintain them, but it is important to maintain them. You don't want to forget that. You don't want to leave your filters wet usually. There's usually a way to flush out some of the clog as it builds up, and that'll help preserve the life of your filter. That's always important to keep in mind. What's also important to keep in mind is the filter capacity, the lifespan. And when I talk about capacity, or we've been talking about capacity, for example, of 4,755 gallons for the LifeStraw Family 1 and the 65 gallons for the Grayl filter. When we talk about that capacity, we're talking about what the company has studied as the capacity at which there's enough stress points in a high enough percentage of the filters that they fail to keep up to the high standard of removing most of the things that are supposed to be removed, microorganisms in this case. If you keep pushing a filter past its capacity, it will still have effectiveness, but then that effectiveness starts to come down from a nice straight line, horizontal line plateau, and it starts to kind of come down, and then pretty quickly it'll go down usually fast. That's usually what a curve of a failure rate looks like for a process like this. So you can keep pushing it past that lifespan, but as you do so, you take additional risk. So that's something, it's kind of like with expired food. In an SHTF situation, you'll kind of have to play it by ear. If you want to be extra careful and risk averse, then don't push any filter past its stated lifespan. And keep close measurement of that. It might sound really cool that, oh great, this holds on to 4,755 gallons, or it can process 4,755 gallons of water before basically breaking and becoming ineffective. It's quite another thing to keep track of those 4,755 gallons, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe keeping a log or having chalk or some way of keeping account for that might make a lot of sense. Yep. Another thing you have to think about with filtration systems of all kinds is what you're putting into them. Some filtration systems, for example, this Grayl Geopress, they specifically say to avoid putting tannins in the filter. I don't know exactly what's in the Grayl Geopress filter. I don't know what the substrate's made out of, but apparently it doesn't like tannins. Tannins are those things from, you'll know them from like tea and coffee, but you can also see them in stagnant lakes or slow-moving streams and rivers. They're built up of compounds that are coming out of leaves, usually decaying leaves, other vegetative matter, and it'll look kind of dark brown. So you want to avoid putting dark brown water into a Grayl Geopress, for example. So if you get a filter, or when you go out and buy a filter, make sure to read about the specifications of what you can and can't put into it, right? And they usually also have pretty obvious ones, but they're also worth mentioning here. Don't put hot water in it. Don't let the filter freeze, especially while it's passing through, water's passing through it. That'll break your substrate pretty easily. Watch dropping it. I think especially the Grayl Geopress, it's supposed to be really resistant against dropping. But some of these very small pore filters, you imagine, you drop them, especially from high enough height on a hard surface, you could materially damage the substrate there.
Yeah.
So you want to be careful not to do that. In other words, take good care of your filters. So Alexis, I guess filter size does matter after all.
Yeah.
Whatever filtration system you decide upon, make sure you keep in mind how to use it and its limitations and what it's able to filter. Because here at Barely Prepping, we don't want you to get very sick.